Good morning everybody and welcome back to another video. In today's video we're going to be carrying on from yesterday's upload with using the iridescent shreds. I made a bowl yesterday using the iridescent shreds, and I thought I would continue it on by adding them with different backgrounds to see if the actual iridescent would change colour. So instead of using the general black, white and clear, I'm going to do purple, blue and red. So we're going to start off by adding just some isopropyl alcohol into the bottom of the mould. So I'll do that in a minute once I've finished mixing the resin. And all the isopropyl alcohol does is just breaks the surface tension within the mould, getting rid of static and stopping bubbles from clinging to any 90-degree angles. So I want to top this up halfway, and just filling that up halfway, it just gives me a base to wet the iridescent shreds. Well, that's what I thought. I have a scrap with it, honestly. What an absolute goddamn nightmare. So I took some iridescent shreds, I rolled it up and tried to stuff it in. Well, there was far too much. I couldn't get it in. Sorry for giggling, but it was funny. It was really funny. I filmed this yesterday, so just doing my voiceover this morning. Absolute nightmare. So I thought if I put my resin in first, it must be easier. But you don't realise how small these molds really are. They are quite small actually, and I don't usually work with such small molds. So I thought, well, I'd chop them up. No, it weren't even any better. I think at this point I gave up trying to fight with them. So I was doing everything from poking and prodding to try and get them in, but they weren't going down. They just kept popping back up, and I was sticking them into the resin. The resin was overflowing inside of the mould, but it just didn't work. And at this point I just thought, scrap the video. So I poured some resin on to moisten them, and I started to pack it down, and it still wasn't going down. And at this point there was no resin in the actual mold, because the whatever it is, plastic or whatever, the material had soaked it up. So yeah, that's a nightmare I had. So I ended up taking all the resin back out of the mold, and I ended up putting the iridescent shreds into the actual resin. And I thought that would be a lot easier to place them down into the mould than actually scrapping with them to get them into the mould dry. So this was a little bit better. They actually went down, but me, like an idiot, was trying to put too much of the iridescent shred into the mould. It's just because it was that fine. It needed quite a bit for it to cover the mould, but because the mould was so small, I did have quite an issue with it. But we got there in the end. So all I'll do is just do the same in each cavity of the mould, and I'm making sure that they're all snug and full with the iridescent shred. But it's like every time I pushed them down and they were secure, a bit of shred would pop out, and then I'd push it back down and it would pop out again. So I ended up taking some resin out of the cup and just pushed it down. It did work this way, finally, but they were full, and obviously I needed to have a space on the back of them to be able to put some resin over the top to coat them, and also to do a back coat. But yeah, they paid off in the end. As you can see, I'm just pushing as much down as I can. Yeah, that was it. I just cut what was there. And what I did at this point, I came up with the idea of just leaving the ones that were springing out of the mould, and I would just cover them up with, I ended up using a coaster mould, and I just sat the coaster mould on top because they just kept springing up. And then what that did is it just allowed them to cure while having the pressure from the actual coaster mould, keeping the iridescent shred within the mould cavity. So at this point there was some resin that was sat in the bottom of the actual paper cup, and what I did was just top I just used what resin was there and I just coated the shred, and it started popping up again, so I just quit from there and left it there, and that's when I decided to put the weight of a coaster mould on top. Anyway, so what I did was leave these to cure, and I decided to come back. This is now the next day, and I'm going to be using purple, red and blue. These are nail powders that I got from Temu. I liked the actual different colour combinations. They look like quite nice colours. So in my pot at the top of the screen, I'm using the Apex High Gloss 1-to-1 resin from Just For You Online UK. There's just 6 pumps, which works out at about 2.5 ounces. So that's 6 pumps of part A and 6 parts of part B. Giving equal parts, and I just shared the resin between each clear pot. So what I'll do is I'll put you on a time lapse while I pour the rest of the resin and I add the colours to the resin. So I'll get back with you once music's finished. Right, so that's all the resin poured into the pots and the colours mixed up. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring the mould that I had the cured iridescent shreds in resin, and we're going to back each one of the, I think it's a cat mould. Yeah, it's actually a cat mould. So I'm going to back one in red, one in purple, one in blue. There was quite a bit of space actually. I was quite surprised at how much space there was, and I just made sure that everything was covered. There was there was a layer of resin, clear resin, in the center, so it was like 3/4 of the way full. So it was perfect, to be honest. There were still some bits of the iridescent shred that would come to the top of the mould, but I wasn't really bothered. It covered, and then the whole point was just to make sure that I could cover the back and give it a coat. And these colours really pretty. It was more like a rose red than a normal red, so I thought that would hopefully give a different colour. And yeah, and that's all I'm doing is just topping up these. They do have tails on them, so you will need to squeeze the tails. And when you squeeze the tails, when you put resin inside, what that'll do is it'll push out the bubbles and suck back in resin, eliminating any bubbles or air pockets that might be in the tail or long pieces of mould. Does that make sense? I think you get my drift what I mean. So there was kind of like bits of the string standing up, hanging out the mould, but the resin covered it. I couldn't fault the resin. This was really good resin, so it went into all the areas and down the sides of where there wasn't a gap. I was surprised. I was saying, I was quite surprised there was as much gaps as what I actually got the resin into. But yeah, that's about it for this side. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish topping up this up, and then I left this to degas for about an hour, and I put this on my heat mat for 2 hours because it was such a thin pour of resin, which it was. It would take longer to cure, so it took about 2.5 hours to cure. So once it was cured, I'll come back and we can get these demolded. So I'll get back with you shortly. Bye. Right, I'm back. These are cured and we're going to get these demolded. So we're going to take a look at these one by one closely to see if the different coloured backgrounds have actually changed the colour of the I forgot what it's called now. holographic thread. It is holographic, isn't it? Yeah. Right, so the red background has highlighted yellows and oranges. Can you see? Mainly yellows. That's really strange, that. And the blue has highlighted pinks, purples and greens. And the purple background has actually highlighted yellow. Can you see? You can actually see the yellow highlighting through the tail in the purple background. And then you can see oranges. More orange on the red one, more oranges and yellows. It's kind of like a green on the purple as well. And then you've got a bit of yellow, but mainly purple and pinks within the blue background. It's really strange how different coloured backgrounds highlight different colours within a holographic film. It's just really, really mad. It's just when you use black and you use white, the white's usually subtle and your dark colours you usually highlight like your darker colours to make them more vibrant. But I just wanted to see if red, blue and purple would give a different effect, and they did. I'm quite surprised at the colours that they picked up actually. That's just all yellow. Yellows and a bit of green. There was some film that had some of the strands sticking out at the bottom, so I just snipped them off. Right guys, that's it for today's video. Let me know what you think and which is your favourite. And my favourite is the one with the blue background. So please like, comment and subscribe if you've not already done so. That would help my channel out so much. And I shall see you on tomorrow's upload. Goodbye. Thanks for watching.